you. So today our workshop is about adapting teaching to reach all learners. It's part 3 in our lesson planning series, so it's the final part of a 3-part series. We're going to have a think about the difference and remind ourselves the difference between attainment and ability and what it means when we use these terms in the classroom and towards our students. We're going to consider and outline the differences in learning styles of our students in front of us, because we all learn in different ways, and it's important to be aware that our students do too. And we're also going to think about how we, be certain and sure that we are reaching all of those different learners in our classroom. It's our responsibility to make sure that we enable our students to reach success and make effective progress. So we need to think about how we are going to reach them all. So the difference between attainment and ability. This is a term that we think about a lot at Teach 2030. We need to think about it in the way that we reach every learner in our classroom. It's a growth mindset attitude, and we need to ensure we understand the difference between them. When we refer to a learner's ability, we're referring to what level they're at right now, at this moment. And it's a closed label, it's fixed. And with it, it implies that there is no room for improvement, that they are stuck, if you like, at one particular level of learning. But again, we don't particularly favour that term because it can lead to demotivation. Children, they believe that they're stuck at one particular level and there's no point in even making an effort. So we want to move away from that closed mindset, and we need to refer to our students as currently attaining. This is a growth mindset attitude and a growth mindset term, and it implies that our students have the ability and capability to move forwards with effort, with practice, and with support from ourselves. So when we talk about our students' attainment, we need to have this open attitude, this growth mindset, to know that our students learn in different ways, and we need to address that in our planning. We need to think about where they are at right now and how we can allow them and support them to move forward, to gain success. So I'm going to show you this video to remind us of some key points and key differences between ability and attainment. And we need to focus on this label, attainment, so we can support our students.
We can't hear anything, Sarah. Are we supposed to?
Yeah, it's just it's just music, really.
Okay, great.
So apologize that you didn't hear the music there, the background music, but hopefully if you have a look on our teaching tips, you will find this one, ability versus attainment. Okay, so I'm going to hand you over to Hamid now, my co-host for today. He's going to talk to you about the different learning styles that we can expect to find when we have numerous students in front of us. Hamid, are you okay? Are you ready?
Yes. Thank you, Sarah. Am I
Over
audible?
to you.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, nice one. So thank you, Sarah. The goal is to spread the attainment level within our class. not to limit our learners to their ability. And in the process of doing this, there is a necessary aspect we need to focus on. That's the learning styles. Although research has also challenged this assumption, however, there is need for us to have a good idea of what it looks like and also infuse it into our lesson planning. Why not limiting ourselves or a student to a particular learning style? So we have various forms of learning style. We have the visual learning, auditory learning, reading and writing learning, kinesthetic learning, verbal or linguistic learning, social or interpersonal learning, solitary or interpersonal learning. They varies across different approaches. The visual learners need to see information so as to grasp the concept. The auditory wants to listen to absorb the information. Maybe you are playing in music. The reading and writing individual wants to use a textbook, a workbook, an essay to grasp the content of the information, or so to say, to digest it. The kinesthetic wants to have an hands-on activity. The verbal linguistic pupils want to hear and imagine words. So we can arrest that kind of scenario with word games and puzzles. The social learners, they thrive in group discussion, think, peer, share, TokTok. The solitary, they want to work alone. However, there is need for us to understand that we have to merge the learning styles into our lesson planning so as to improve the learning outcome. Also to say, so as to improve the attainment, so that most learners will benefit from various instructional variety using a combination of visual, auditory, kinesthetics, so to say. So it's very important for us as a teacher to plan for all, to make sure that our lesson plan captures all these various forms of learner, so that we are not limiting a child that, okay, he only learns with visual, so I'm limiting him with visual. Definitely, we are making him or her much more comfortable with that approach. We are not making them to be challenged. We are not bringing them out of the shell. And that is more or less of limiting them to the ability. They should be able to attain various forms of instruction while celebrating their own strength. We should also find a way to work around their weaknesses so that they can learn across all boards. So it is very important. It's very important to consider some factors to influence the attainment in regard to these learning styles. So we have to, there are some key factors we need to put into consideration when we are planning or when we are delivering our lesson. Please, is everybody with me?
Absolutely, Hamid. There's some really good points there. Thank you about learning styles. I'm sure we've all experienced numerous students in our classrooms of different abilities, different attainment levels, and different learning styles. And the learning styles that Hamid just outlined, it's important to understand that we all learn in different ways. We could probably recognize it in ourselves. I know I'm a visual learner. I like to see things displayed. If I just listen constantly, I lose focus, and that would be the same for our students. So a technique to support that would have things projected perhaps or written up on blackboards so that students can focus on some words or some images as well as listen to what you're having to say. So learning styles helps us to reach all the different learners that we have in front of us in our classroom. In addition to learning styles, as teachers, we need to adapt our teaching. The term that we use when we think about the different attainment levels of our students is differentiation. But that term is beginning to evolve and turn into adapted learning so that we are providing different tasks for the children according to what they know and what their attainment or their attainment level is. We have our expectations of learners, but sometimes we need to access them in different ways, allow students to work to their own abilities, their own learning styles, so they can progress at their own speed and their own pace. It's very difficult for students of a weaker attainment to keep up with students of a higher attainment. we need to kind of match the activities for all of the class, regardless of that attainment. That's our responsibility to do. So we need to adapt our teaching and make sure we are reaching all different levels of ability and attainment. So over to you. Can you think of a lesson where you have used differentiation, where you have adapted your lesson plan to reach all the needs of all of the learners? What type of need did you have to take into consideration? What strategies do you use? Can you either type your answers into the chat box, or if you would like to tell us about it, use your raise your hand icon. Just while you're reflecting upon that, I can tell you about a student that I have this year. He's of a very weak attainment level. But obviously, it's my responsibility to help support him so that he can access our lesson plan and move forward at his level. So what I did last week, we were reading quite a complex text with some challenging words. So I took out an extract of the text and asked some basic comprehension questions just based on 3 sentences from that text. And then another question that I asked him to do that we were working on was looking at the language that writer uses. So for him, I gave him a quotation from the text we read, and I circled some words and asked him the question that we were all focusing on. What emotions did those words evoke in different characters? So I adapted my lesson plan to suit his level of attainment. So over to you. Hamid, perhaps you would like to share a lesson that you have adapted or used differentiation in.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, have you got a lesson where you have used differentiation?
Yes, numerous times. Recently, I had a scenario of I was teaching fraction, adding on like terms with fraction. So am I audible?
Yep.
Hello?
Oh, we can still hear you. Are you still there?
Oh, yes. It's like it's breaking. It's breaking. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and
Yeah.
clear.
So I was taking this class a year 3, adding on like fraction. So at the ab initio, I have a boy that is at the emerging table. It has to be at the expected level of the class. So I've already come with a different task for him. So while others were doing the expected task, I was still walking him through getting the lowest common denominator for fraction. So that was I was able to have a personal section with him while others were completing their task. And before the end of the class, he was able to grasp the concept and also did a task that was a bit for his own level.
That's a great example. Thank you. And I think it's important that we check in with our weaker attainers and we do some one-to-one teaching while our stronger and more independent learners are making progress themselves. So that's a great example. Thank you. So a few notes on the PowerPoint then. The learning styles that we've previously referred to, they directly link to our students who do have additional needs. So we do need to prepare our lessons in different styles to suit the various abilities, attainments, and learning styles. We need to think about whether they've actually got physical disabilities, whether there's a hearing impairment, whether there's a visual impairment, and how are we supporting that? Perhaps there's some social and emotional needs which might detract from their ability to stay focused for lengthier periods of time. So, have we broken up our lesson plans into smaller, more manageable chunks? We need to consider our students with weak literacy or any other specific learning difficulties. So there's different ways that we can cater for our SEN students so that they can access the learning and have the same opportunities as everyone in the room. We need to find alternative approaches to tasks. So when we prepare our lesson plan, we need to think about our activities and whether they are varied enough to reach all those learners. We could use scaffolding perhaps with our SEN students, give them some sentence starters, give them some word banks to help them in getting started with writing tasks. As I said earlier, try and display instructions as well as verbally saying them to your classroom. It's nice for students to have something to focus their eyes on, to lock onto before they panic perhaps and there's too many words which might become overwhelming. And another technique is to model what you want your students to do. Show them how to get going with a paragraph or with a fraction or whatever piece of work they may be learning. And then they will have more of an idea of what you expect from them. Okay, the other end of the scale are our higher attainers. We also need to make sure we remember our students who are at the top end of attainment levels. Hamid, would you like to talk about our higher attainers, please?
Yes, exactly. Thank you. It's very important not to leave them unattended to, or there is a mistake we often make, just reeling out worksheets. Okay, you are done with that, take this and proceed with it. No, we should find a way to stretch their thinking, give them tasks that will enhance their critical thinking, much more of creativity. Let them reflect on what they've done. Let them explain the process. Even during that time, we can assign them to assist a peer, to teach some level of responsibility, leadership skills, not only giving them more worksheet to do. So it's always cool to have a good approach for our high flyers, the high attainers. Have something deliberately prepared for them so that they can also, it will enhance higher order reasoning in them by giving them questioning that will task them the more. So the focus should not just be reeling out worksheets. There should be a purpose, that should be a trajectory that our higher attainers want to walk through, so that it stretch their brain and it's give them the opportunity to think deeper.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Hamid. Thank you so much. So therefore, every time we plan and teach our lesson, it's our responsibility as educators to make sure we're reaching all of our learners, to be aware of the different need and abilities and attainments, learning styles, and everything else that we've talked about today. We do need to think about these as we plan our lessons. We need to make sure we're reaching everyone and that we create variation in our lesson. We provide challenge for those higher ability, higher attainers in our classroom so they can move forward and think about higher order trajectories, which Hamid just mentioned, but also we need to support those at the lower attainment levels in our room. They are all important students, every single one of them, and it's our responsibility to open doors and allow them to develop their own understanding and practice in their different areas of learning. We must adapt our lessons. It's our responsibility to consider the different ways we can adapt them. So TPD, professional development, that's another thing we need to consider. Develop our TPD in how to support the developing needs. If we're not very experienced in supporting students with SEN, then our TPD is to go and research how we can do that better, how we can improve and help those weaker retainers. In the same way, we need to do TPD to consider how to reach our higher retainers and not just give them extra work. We have a course on teach2030.com as well, which is all about reaching all the learners in our classroom and will give you more activities and ideas. Okay, I'm just going to open if anybody would like to make any more contributions about reaching all learners in the classroom. If anybody would like to share some ideas, activities, or experiences where they have adapted their teaching. Hello, Sandrine. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have you got any experiences you'd like to share about adapting your lesson plans to reach all of the students in your classroom?
Yes. Yes, I got some experience I would like to share. Are you getting me?
Yes, we are, absolutely. I know I've put you on the spot a little bit here. I hope you don't mind.
Hello?
Hi, Sandrine, we can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, but it's breaking.
Oh, the internet signal must be a bit wobbly.
Hello?
Hi, Sandrine.
Okay. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please go ahead. If you can hear us, that's absolutely brilliant.
Okay. I got some experiences in the reaching all learners in my classroom. What's a little bit funny is that I am not at the same level with all of you. I am at the early childhood.
When I go to school.
Hello?
Hi, sorry. Carry on, Sandrine. Are you there, Sandrine? Can you hear
Yes,
us?
I'm right here. I'm right here. Okay, I am at the early childhood. What I do to reach all my learners is I differentiate lessons. I differentiate lessons when planning. So what I plan for student A is not what I'm going to plan for student B, because
Sandrine, I think we've lost you. Your signal's dropped.
different skills. I know their what will I say? I know their different academic levels. So what I do is in planning, I take all of this into consideration to be able same strategy I'm going to use for child B. If I use the same strategy that I use for child A and it works, to take him from tier, let's say he's at tier 3, to take him from tier 3 to tier 1 is not going to work for another child that learns in a different way. So I take all this into consideration. And what I do with my learners is that I have noticed that most learners they like hand-on activities. They like project-based learning. They love learning with some visual aids. They love outdoor activities. So when I'm planning my lessons, I take this into consideration. I make sure that my lesson is being linked to real life. It's something we're going to go outside and explore at a given point to consolidate the lesson. And because of this, at the end of the session or at the end of the chapter, you find out that most learners, let's say even 98% of the learners have met my objective. Those 2% of the learners or 20% of the learners that will not meet the objectives are these children with special needs that they are still going to meet the objectives, but we need more time in meeting the objectives, because I will do the same thing with them, repeatedly. Okay.
That's wonderful, Sandrine. That's a brilliant example of differentiation, of adapting your teaching, and it links directly in with everything we've been talking about, the different learning styles in the classroom and how we can reach all of our students and in different ways and at different paces. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to start closing for today because we have gone over time quite far. Hamid, I'd like to say thank you once again for co-hosting and sharing your thoughts and ideas. It's been wonderful to share these lessons, these ideas, and this support with everybody. So thank you. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully you will join us on our next workshop, which will be on October the 28th, but more to come through your email and through social media. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
team.
Sarah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.